In May 2025, high above the Baltic Sea and just 40 nautical miles from the Russian border, two U.S. Air Force B-52H bombers sliced through dense clouds, slow, deliberate, and unmistakably symbolic. These weren't just aircraft. They were flying declarations of strategic presence, headed straight toward one of Russia's most fortified military zones, Kaliningrad. Within minutes of appearing on radar, two Russian Su-27 fighter jets were scrambled from Khalyvsk Air Base. There were no warnings, no radio calls, only a high-speed intercept unfolding silently and rapidly through the sky. As the bombers approached, one of the Su-27s locked onto a B-52 with its targeting radar, then surged ahead in a dangerously close pass, buzzing the American aircraft so tightly that the turbulence rocked its massive frame. It wasn't a collision, but it came close enough to send a message, loud and clear. What began as a scheduled patrol quickly evolved into one of the most dangerous aerial encounters since the Cold War. The bombers, part of Bomber Task Force 25-1, weren't armed with live nuclear warheads, but they didn't need to be. Their mere presence was calculated deterrence. They were accompanied by NATO's newest members, Sweden and Finland, marking the first time those nations flew joint drills with American strategic bombers so close to Russian territory. Kaliningrad's significance cannot be overstated. It houses advanced missile systems, dense radar coverage, and a hardened military infrastructure. The B-52s flew just outside its reach, close enough to be provocative without crossing any lines. Meanwhile, Russia had just concluded a simulated nuclear strike exercise, and NATO was in the midst of one of its largest training operations in years, involving over 30,000 troops across Europe. Though uncoordinated, these events formed a visible pattern: readiness. The sky above the Baltic, once quiet, had become a theater for posturing and pressure. As the B-52s approached Kaliningrad, every mile they flew was loaded with strategic weight. They maintained a steady flight path, no sudden moves, no course changes as if daring a response. On the ground, neither side blinked. Russia activated its powerful S-400 missile systems, sweeping the sky with radar as NATO surveillance aircraft and tankers entered holding patterns, ready to support or escalate. In the air, the confrontation escalated. The Russian Su-27s closed to within 1,000 meters, well past the safety zone of a professional intercept. Then came the most dangerous moment. One Su-27 briefly activated a missile lock on the lead B-52 before performing a full-speed flyby just meters above its nose. The turbulence rattled the bomber's flight controls and chilled every crew member on board. It was not spontaneous. It was a statement. The U.S. aircraft did not deviate. The crew stayed silent, professional, and focused. Because they knew, one mistake, one overcorrection, 1 second too long on radar lock, and this standoff could turn into a catastrophe. The aftermath was just as tense. Though the aircraft parted ways, no one lowered their alert status. NATO initiated layered response measures, AWACS surveillance flights increased, aerial refueling tankers repositioned, and secure command rooms from Ramstein to Norfolk lit up with real-time data. The NATO crisis hotline was opened and left active, not for diplomacy, but as a fail-safe. Kaliningrad stayed on high alert. Every system lit up, every movement tracked. This was now more than a drill. Both sides had made their move. Both were calculating what came next. What made the situation so dangerous wasn't what happened, it was what could have. A single wrong maneuver could have been interpreted as a first strike. And in skies filled with nuclear-capable bombers, electronic warfare, and deeply rooted mistrust, milliseconds matter. This wasn't just an intercept. It was a tightrope walk across a geopolitical minefield. As both militaries prepared their narratives, it became clear that this was not an accident. It was posture, presence, and messaging at high altitude. To the U.S., this was a legal training mission in international airspace. To Russia, it was a challenge at the doorstep of one of its most strategic strongholds. The B-52s moved with deliberate visibility, while the Su-27s responded with speed and intimidation. Both sides communicated without words, through flight paths, radar locks, and proximity, and neither side was willing to back down. Military analysts now view these kinds of encounters as the new normal strategic messaging without missiles, but that also means the boundary is pushed further each time. Every successful intercept without incident makes the next one more dangerous. No one wants open conflict, but no one wants to appear weak either. So patrols get bolder, intercepts more aggressive, and the margin for error shrinks. This encounter over the Baltic wasn't just another close call, it was a glimpse into the future of superpower competition, one where silence, altitude, and proximity speak louder than any headline, and where peace is maintained not by absence of conflict, but by constant, nerve-wracking balance. The danger isn't in a declared war. It's in the moment no one meant to start one, but couldn't stop it in time. But how long can this dangerous balancing act last before one wrong move turns the entire sky into a battlefield? The danger is no longer distant. It's already here and growing worse. In the past 12 months alone, high-risk encounters between U.S. and Russian military aircraft in Europe have surged by over 40%. These aren't minor flybys. They involve strategic aircraft like B-52 bombers, RC-135 surveillance planes, and MQ-9 Reaper drones, all carrying advanced equipment and sometimes real firepower. Every time they near Russian airspace, they're shadowed by Russian fighters like the Su-27, and with each close approach, the risk of a deadly mistake multiplies. Military analysts warn that we may be drifting toward an airborne version of the Gulf of Tonkin incident, one misjudged encounter that spirals into a much wider conflict. In 1964, a small naval misunderstanding escalated into the full-blown Vietnam War, costing tens of thousands of lives. Today's sky standoffs carry that same potential, only now the planes fly faster, the weapons are deadlier, and the room for error has all but disappeared. Neither side is backing down. The U.S. and Russia are locked in a dangerous strategy of no retreat, with each trying to project strength. But when two jets close in at Mach speeds, even a 300-meter gap feels like inches. All it takes is one wrong move, one radar lock that lasts a few seconds too long, or one misunderstood hand signal from a pilot under pressure. And suddenly, diplomacy is replaced by disaster. If this becomes the new normal, constant pressure, zero retreat, the real question becomes, how far can we push before there's no turning back? Because at 30,000 feet, there are no brakes, only seconds, only decisions, and sometimes no second chances. That's what Navy Secrets wanted to bring you today, honest, up-to-date insight backed by expert military analysis. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us bring more high-quality content to the surface. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below and stay tuned for our next deep dive. Until then, stay sharp, stay safe, and never underestimate the thin line between peace and provocation.